Alright, how you guys doing out there? On this tutorial, I am going to start showing you a little bit of the basics on modding, as you might have already read from the video title or description. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to even start to edit the files, what program you need to use, and where to go, and just do some really basic modding. So let's get it started here. So first of all, what you want to do, you want to go to this link. I've got that down in the video description for you. You want to get this thing called FinalBIG Editor. Very, very small size. It's an old program, so don't worry about it eating up any space on your computer. Once you get that installed, you need to go over to your main directory. I got mine in the default one, program files x86. Yours might be somewhere else, of course. And you pull that up. You're going to need to go ahead and use that program to open this file here, ini, just simply ini, and it'll be able to open up a ton of these other ones, as you can see. And we'll get to those in other videos at some point down the line, especially like W3D, where you can actually take a look at your 3D models, how to find all of those, texture files, and all of that. And by the way, I'm dealing with the vanilla game. No particular reason, but just dealing with the vanilla game right now, and I can show you a little bit about the Age of the Ring mod as well here in a little bit. The main difference between the two is that in the vanilla game, the files are all compressed into this one big file here, ini.BIG for the extension. But in the Age of the Ring mod, they're all extracted. Alright, so I'm just going to take a quick second to show you what it looks like when you actually do extract the whole ini file. It's very, very easy. Over here in AOTR, they've already got it all organized. You can see data, ini. See each of those individual ones that we pulled up here. All these data/ini files are all included in AOTR in data. Go figure. And ini. And boom, all of them right down there. And I mean, it's basically the same thing, except you don't have to go through the added process of edit with editor, like what I was showing you here. You don't have to do that. You can just simply edit it right then and there in those individual files. And sorry there, I was just getting distracted doing some reading. You do have to, of course, know what you're looking for a little bit, but just the way that it's been organized here, it's going to be the way that it's organized over there as well. And then over here, I've already opened it up in my own new folder. I went to data, ini, boom. It's the exact same thing as over in AOTR. Very, very simple. Now, the thing that you have to be aware of when you do extract those files, keep in mind that if you want to make edits to those extracted files like that, for the vanilla game anyways, not so much for the AOTR game, but if you do want to make edits in those extracted files, that those edits are not going to be incorporated into the game itself. You're just editing the files on the side. I don't know exactly how that you would reincorporate those into the game. So just for convenience, at least, it's more convenience for me anyways, I would just continue to edit all of those files in the ini.big file that we have had open over here. I wouldn't just keep on messing around with the extracted ones on the side. It's just an extra hassle you don't really need to do. So I've already got it opened up right down here. And this is what it's going to look like. For everyone out there who's never done all this before, this is going to look very, very intimidating, I'm sure. I know it was for myself. Way, way too many files out there to have to deal with and not know what you're doing. So, the basics of it for what I'd like to show you today are how you can look up individual unit files and structure files, and how you can mess around with those just to make some simple edits, such as unit cost. If you wanted to mess around with how much your units are going to actually cost when you go to spawn them, and structure resource output. I had a gentleman email me about this the other day, and I figured, you know what, this would be a really good opportunity to start a good short tutorial on all of this. So I'm going to show it to you right now. So let's go down. In this particular case, he was asking about outposts, those capturable structures on a lot of maps where you can get free resources. Well, in this particular case, you'd have to go pretty far down this list. Now, as you can see, all of these are organized, and you got to know this a little bit. We're in data in the ini file, and when it says campaigns, that is typically for all of the main, single player campaign modes. In this particular case, I don't mess around with these. This looks like it's maybe War of the Ring, but you don't have to worry about all of these right now. It's just good to have a good idea about what these actually mean. Command buttons, all that stuff I don't typically deal with. I'm not a professional modder or anything like that. I just know a few things here and there, and I just like to share, the few things that I know. So yeah, you can just kind of take a look at some of these and get a good idea about what some of these mean. Some of these you're not going to really know too much, just basically by what you're looking at. You might have to look them up, and they might get a little on the confusing side right now to start off. So we're going to go all the way down to what I was talking about here. Oh, and by the way, so really important note for anyone out there who really does want to take this seriously, this whole modding thing seriously. The idea of modding is that you are changing the game files themselves. So you do want to make a backup of your main game. And it's really, really simple. In my case, I went over to Electronic Arts in the program files x86 and put the main game here. All you have to do is just right click on it, hit copy, and then paste it onto your desktop. And then you'd have an extra version of the game. And it takes like 2 seconds to do. It's real simple. If you're doing The Rise of the Witch King, you don't have to have a copy of BFME 2 to mod those files safely. However, there are certain files in there that can only be found in the Battle for Middle-earth 2, the vanilla game, in which you would need to have an extra copy. So you might want to feel safer. You may feel safer, I should say, just doing it that way, making a copy of both. Just be sure that you're always dealing with that copy and you always have your main game untouched. Otherwise, what's going to happen is if you mess around with certain files and you don't know what you're doing, you could cause the game to not be able to boot up anymore. It could crash your game and you'd have to reinstall. It's not that big of a deal, of course, unless you're doing an awful lot. But I don't recommend having just the main game as your only thing. And then the other thing also that you'll have to consider is even in a copied game like Rise of the Witch King as a whole, and you change even one tiny little minor thing like a unit cost, that's going to keep you from playing that game with other players unless they have the exact same copy of that game. So you would have to share your copy, your modded copy, with some friends and do it that way. Um, there's a certain way of doing all of that. There's something called the dash mod command. I've never actually done it myself. It's just something to be aware of. You could find some tutorials out there online. I just put in dash mod command for a BFME modding search, and you should be able to find that. Usually you can find some great resources on all of this, by the way, over at T3A, the T3A.com, I believe. It's been a while since I've been over there. It's a great resource. Let's take a look at that right now while I'm thinking of it. Let's see. Here. This is the link, the thirdage.net. That's what it is. The thirdage.net. You go here, you can find an awful lot of old tutorials on how best to mod, actual modding. Let's see here. Here, tutorials. And it's organized pretty well. Let's see. You can do code, you can do graphics, like the W3D stuff, world builder, and it's organized by game. You can see each of them have about 70 tutorials. So, lots and lots of great resources there. Alright, so what I was trying to say though is just be aware of the dash mod command, and that you cannot share this with other players unless you, share the actual game itself. So just be aware of that. Alright, so I wanted to get that out of the way. Now, going back to our idea of structures, we're going to go all the way down to, let's see, neutral. Because the outpost is a neutral structure. And you can see it right around here. Alright, so in this particular case, you can see this might pop up for you. I'm not too sure why it's doing that. I think it's because it's already open in mine. That's right. I already have it open. So what I like to do, if you're going to edit this, now you can just take a look at some of these, like this, neutral warg layer, and you can just go down by clicking on it and take a look at it. Now, of course, you're going to be really intimidated. You're not going to really know what you're looking at if you're just starting off. So I'm going to just stick with what I know for right now. And let's see, Outpost. Now, I've already got this open. Like I said, that's a way of just looking at it. But if you want to actually edit it, okay, you have to go up to Edit and Edit with Editor, and it's going to pop it up as its own file here. Okay. Now I've already got. Oh, see, that's the thing. When you open one up, this is going to go all the way back up to the top. It's really inconvenient. So let's go back down for a second. Go down to neutral. It is right there. Okay, so I've already got that popped up, like I said. It is over here. Now, to just simply do some very, very basic changes, sometimes you have to know where to look in two different spots in this the big ini file that we pulled up here. Now, for the outpost, there is a spot way down at the bottom where it says behavior, auto deposit, update, and then right down below it says deposit timing, outpost money time, deposit amount, outpost money amount. And these are definitions. As you can see, they're not values, they're definitions, or terms, excuse me, and you have to find the definitions for what this specifically means somewhere else. So I'm going to show that to you right now. Go back over to ini, and you have to find something called game data. Let's see here. Game data would be game data. Now, as I said, I've already got this up already, so I'm going to find that. And there's two different ones, by the way. Don't get confused. There's data/ini/game data, and then there's another one. Don't go to the other one. I don't know what that one is. You just need this one. So I'm going to pull that up right here. All right. By the way, to do a quick search on any of this stuff, instead of having to look around, you can just do Ctrl F, and it'll pop up your little search bar here. And you got to be aware that you go up and down certain directions. This is an old way of searching. It doesn't just automatically search. So when you do find next, it's going to go through that specific term and where it's all at, each and every line that it finds it on. So you might have to go through it a couple of times, just click down a handful of times. Just be aware of that. It's not the most convenient way of searching. Alright, so we're going back over to game data. Alright, now, in this particular case, I've already got it pretty much set to where it is, or not. Let me see. No, that's right, I was fiddling around with it earlier. So, we go back over here to Outpost. So what I'm going to do in this case is you want to search for Outpost money amount. Highlight it, copy it, paste it on over here. Okay. See if it doesn't find it on the upside, it'll tell you. So you gotta go to the downside. Boom. Outpost. And then you just make a simple edit. You know, whatever that value is that you want to change it to. Now, I don't have an actual copy of this game on my computer, in large part because I have no space left on my computer right now. So, but I have done this many times. So, all you have to do is just change that. And always go up here to save, and then exit. And then when you exit out of that, you want to go up here in the FinalBIG ini main file and go down to save and exit as well. Otherwise, it won't save your changes in the game file. You have to do it 2 times for each of these. And that's basically it. Then you just open up your game, and you'll see that that change has already been made whenever you go to capture an outpost. And, you know, as you can see here, you can also change outpost money time. So, you know, the ticker, how many seconds it takes to get to the next, you know, the next. Sorry, I'm a little distracted at the moment. It's 3 in the morning where I'm at. You know what I'm talking about, the ticker, how many seconds it takes in between each time you get a tick of resources. So you just go down there to money time, go back over here. Oh, that's already there. So this is something kind of interesting here. I've never fully understood like what precisely the 1,000 is. But in this case, it's just 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds, you just have to look at the first two numbers here to tell you how many seconds in between the 2 ticks there are. Yeah. So if you wanted to decrease it down to 5 seconds or something crazy like that, you just go down and edit to 5,000. And then you can do the same thing with your other structures, like your farms or your fortress. If you wanted to go over to, say, your fortress, that's a little different. So, in this particular case, you'd need to know what faction to look under. And you'd have to do it per faction, by the way. It's not for all Uh, well, no, actually, I think it is for all factions. I think it is actually for all factions. So you go over to any one of those faction structures. So evil faction structure. Let's go to Angmar's fortress, okay? I've got that opened as well. All right, so in the case of the fortress for Angmar, you'd go down to deposit amount, generic keep money amount. All right, so copy that, go back over to game data, and put that in there. All right, and this is, like it says, generic keep money amount. So that this specific one is for, I mean, it's in-game data, so it applies to all fortresses in the game. You don't have to do that for each individual fortress like what I was talking about initially. Uh, I was just trying to show you where you could find this specific term in each of the faction's fortress INI files. So it's a handy little thing, so that way you don't have to change up each individual one. And then for units, now unit costs, of course, are individualized. Those you can't do anything about in a simple game data kind of way, but you do have to go back to game data. So you go down, evil faction in this case, we're going to use units. Now there's a difference here. There's a difference between evil faction hordes and evil faction units down below. The hordes, they clump all of your units together in their battalions into one file, and it has a very different reading than what you would do is if you were to go down to units, evil faction units. Here in this, you can go to each individual one. Now this is organized per unit, as in a single unit in a battalion. So when you go to look up the values for it, like if you want to know the CP cost, you would see the value of each individual unit, and you'd have to know the battalion size of what you're looking for, and multiply it by the battalion size, for instance. But let's just say you wanted to know the individual cost. You'd actually have to look it up in game data again. This is not done in the individual INI files. You can find certain things like CP in there, as I said. But if you wanted to look up in game data, you just look up that name that you see here. So it would be Dark Dunedain, Angmar Dark Dunedain. Some of these names are very specific. Other times they're a little bit more, common sense. Okay, go up Dark Dunedain. And there they are. And you can see the build cost. And by the way, these little semicolons here, this is there for a reason, to separate what they were, what they used to be in previous patches. You don't really have to worry about that too much. It's just to let you know, old changes that were there. So, but I would not I don't recommend changing this yourself, like deleting any of that. All right, so yeah, build time, you can make them build a lot faster. You can actually put it to 0, so as soon as you click on it, they just immediately spawn. You can mess around with their health and how long it takes for them to start to regain their health. Vision range, all this good stuff. Now, this is going to be a little interesting. This is a whole different matter here. I don't know a whole lot about all of this. it looks pretty straightforward, but I do remember that there's a little bit more to it than this. Like if you wanted to change up their damage for their sword, you'd have to change it up here, but also in another spot where the sword can be found uh, in general. But I could be confused on that. Don't take my word for it. I'd go ahead and take a look at some tutorials on that T3A site that I was telling you about, just to make absolutely sure. So yeah, this is kind of the basics of doing some really simple modding for you. Um, there's a lot of terminology, obviously, a lot of things you have to know going into this, and some of these are pretty straightforward, pretty common sense kind of stuff. Others are, they're not so much. Oh yeah, and this is what I was telling you about the command points. If you wanted to shift around the command points for the individual battalions, you'd have to go to that horde size that I was telling you. So I've already got the horde file open for the Angmar hordes, and I went down to, let's see, where did I go? Angmar hordes, Dark Dunedain horde, right here. And I went down to command points, right here. I believe that's the only way that you can mess around with your command point costs for them. I could be wrong on that, um, but this is the only way that I know of right offhand. Alright, so I'm going to show you now how it's different when you go to edit a file over in the AOTR files. If you're using the Age of the Ring mod, all those files, like I said earlier, are already extracted, so you don't have to go through the ini.BIG file with the FinalBIG editor to do this. You can do it automatically in the files. But there is a major difference. You have to go through security settings, otherwise it's not going to let you do anything. So I'm going to show you right now. I have a unit in mind, so we're already over here in Program Files x86 in the AOTR files. So I'm going to go to AOTR here, and I'm going to go down to Data, and I want to get to the unit Baragond for Gondor. It's a hero for Gondor, and I'm going to go down to ini. Let's go to Object, Good Faction, Units, go down to Men, not Gondor, but Men, and I'll go to Baragond. Now, I've already changed it up, but I want to show you what's going to happen for something that is not changed up. Okay, so I'm going to go to Boromir. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go to Boromir. And yeah, that was it after all. So I'll go to Boromir, go down to Cost. Alright, let's just say I want to change his cost. I want it to be a little bit cheaper. I'm going to go from 2200 to 2000. Okay? And I want to save this file. Okay, go to save. Yes, I want to replace it. And this is what will pop up on you. You do not have permissions to open this file. Alright? Well, we got to go to security settings. So I'm going to close that out. And even if you do this and hit save, it won't do it. So you just take it right back. Boom. So we'll get out of that. And what you got to do is what I did up here with Baragond. I always get those two confused. You right click it, go to properties, then security up here, and you're going to see all of these don't have allow checked for a lot of those. Okay. There's one that does. Two of them. But as a precaution, I don't know exactly, excuse me, which one you would have to actually fully edit this file, or if you'd actually have to have them all. But I went ahead and did all of them. So I went to edit, and I just clicked allow. It won't click on the special permissions, but don't worry about that. And then I hit apply. And I did that for every single one of these. And I hit apply for each of them, and then of course OK. And so up here at Baragon, oops, I changed his to 1,000, and it was 1,400. And I'll show you. Once you do all of the edits, be a big bold black check mark for each of them. And I'll show you right now. All right. Goblins! Here we go. Like I said, Baragon's original cost is 1,400. Changed it to 1,000. Modded it. Easy peasy. Now, the thing is, when you change a file like that, you want to make sure that whatever you do here in the file, you have to, what am I trying to say here? Basically, like, if you wanted to mod it and change it, you can't have the game open when you do it. So, like, I would love to be able to change it back and then, restart this match and see a new change, but no, you actually have to have the game completely closed out and then restart the game for any little change that you want to test. So just keep that in mind, otherwise you're going to be probably a little frustrated. So yeah, just a quick tip there for y'all. So yeah, just be, like I said before, be very careful with how you mess around with things. There's a lot in here that I don't know about. Like I said, I'm no professional. I've never really done a whole lot of modding. I just know just a few simple things here and there. And we'll get to some of those at a later time. But that kind of wraps things up, I think. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to shoot me a message in the comments and talk some BFME. All right, we'll see you guys around. Thanks.